Claire never imagined that a simple act of kindness would change her life forever. When a small-town baker saves the daughter of a grieving CEO, she lights a spark of hope in a family lost to sorrow and discovers a chance at love she never saw coming. Hello, and welcome to Hot Tea and Storytime. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new to the channel, here's what we're all about. Pour yourself a story, one cup at a time. This is the place where you can sit back, sip on something warm, and let the world of storytelling sweep you away. Whether you're here for a quick escape or a cozy night in, you're in for a treat. If you enjoy today's story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll always be in the loop for new stories. Plus, it helps us keep this storytelling community growing. So, pour yourself a cup, settle in, and let's dive into today's story. I think you're going to love it. A Sweet Second Chance. Chapter 1. The Offer. Claire had lived in Hillside her whole life, known for her incredible baking skills and her open, kind heart. People came from miles around to her cozy bakery, lured by her treats and her warm smile. Baking wasn't just a job for Claire. It was a way to bring comfort and joy to others. She had become a fixture in the town, someone people could rely on for a kind word and a slice of something sweet. One winter morning, Claire received a letter that took her by surprise. Alara Foods, a renowned company known for supporting artisan bakers, had invited her to join as a pastry consultant. They'd noticed her talents and wanted her to help elevate their brand with her recipes. It was an opportunity she had never dreamed of, a chance to introduce her creations to a wider audience and grow as a professional. With equal parts excitement and nervousness, Claire accepted the offer and prepared to start a new chapter at the company's headquarters in the city. She packed a few of her treasured recipes and reminders of home, hoping to bring a touch of Hillside's warmth into her new environment. Chapter 2. The First Day. Claire's first day at Alara Foods was overwhelming. Used to the simplicity of her small-town bakery, she found the bustling energy of the sleek modern office both exciting and intimidating. Busy employees hurried through the corridors, and the kitchens were filled with the hum of equipment and the metallic scent of industrial ovens, a far cry from the scent of vanilla and cinnamon that filled her shop. In the afternoon, during her lunch break, Claire decided to explore the company's garden, a tranquil space tucked away behind the main building. The trees, benches, and flowers made it feel like a hidden oasis, a slice of nature amid the cityscape. Claire took a deep breath, letting the calmness wash over her as she enjoyed a moment of peace. Suddenly, she heard a small cry from nearby. Concerned, Claire followed the sound and found a little girl, tangled in some bushes, her face flushed with frustration and fear. "Oh no, are you stuck?" Claire knelt down, speaking gently to reassure her. "Let me help you, sweetheart." The little girl sniffled and nodded, her big, tearful eyes fixed on Claire. "My name's Evie. I was playing and got caught." As Claire untangled Evie from the bushes, she offered a soft smile. "It's all right, Evie. Sometimes we all need a little help." Once free, Evie looked up at Claire, her tears drying as a tentative smile spread across her face. "Thank you," she whispered, clutching her small hands together. Claire offered her a cookie from her bag, and Evie's eyes lit up, the distress melting away with her first bite. At that moment, a tall, serious-looking man rushed into the garden, his face etched with worry. He dropped to one knee beside Evie, pulling her into a relieved embrace. "Evie, are you all right? I was so worried," he murmured, his voice filled with the weight of his fear. Evie nodded, looking up at him with a smile. "She helped me, Daddy. She gave me a cookie, too." The man looked up at Claire, his gaze intense yet filled with gratitude. "Thank you for helping her," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I don't know what I'd do if anything happened to her." Claire recognized him immediately, Nathaniel Hayes, the CEO of Alara Foods. She had seen him in her orientation that morning, though he'd seemed reserved, with a sadness in his eyes that now made sense. It was whispered among the staff that Nathaniel had recently lost his wife to cancer, a tragedy that had left him both a single father and a man deeply wounded by grief. Claire smiled warmly, her kindness unwavering. It was no trouble at all. Evie's a brave little girl. As Nathaniel thanked her once more, Claire felt a strange pull in her heart. She hadn't expected to make a personal connection on her first day, but something about Nathaniel and Evie lingered with her, like the scent of cinnamon that clung to her clothes. Chapter 3. Building Bridges. Over the following days, Claire continued to see Evie whenever she visited the headquarters. The little girl would often sneak away from her father's office to the kitchen, watching Claire bake with wide, curious eyes. Each time, Claire welcomed her, inviting her to help with simple tasks like sprinkling sugar or decorating cookies. Nathaniel would sometimes come looking for Evie, a mix of amusement and exasperation on his face. Claire always reassured him, smiling as Evie helped her finish her treats. Their moments together created a unique rhythm, one in which laughter softened the edges of loss, and sweetness filled the spaces once occupied by grief. One afternoon, Nathaniel stayed a little longer in the kitchen, sipping coffee as he watched Claire work. He was struck by the ease with which she interacted with Evie, a warmth and patience that brought his daughter a happiness he hadn't seen in months. She filled the kitchen with laughter, the kind of gentle joy he thought had left his life for good. "Evie talks about you all the time," Nathaniel said quietly, his gaze softening. "You seem to bring out a side of her I haven't seen in a while." Claire looked up, her expression thoughtful. Kids need to feel safe, and sometimes they need someone who's not as close to the grief they're feeling. Evie has a beautiful spirit. She just needs a bit of light to keep it shining. Nathaniel looked at her, an unfamiliar warmth spreading in his chest. He hadn't allowed himself to feel much of anything since his wife's passing, but Claire's kindness and Evie's laughter seemed to chip away at his sorrow. Chapter 4. The Invitation. One weekend, Claire invited Nathaniel and Evie to her small bakery in Hillside, hoping to share the warmth of her world with them. She decorated the shop with fresh flowers, setting up a cozy table for them. When they arrived, Evie's eyes widened, and she ran around in awe, her small hands touching everything in delighted wonder. Nathaniel looked around, taking in the charm of the bakery and the clear care Claire had put into making it feel like home. It was the kind of place he could see his wife loving, a place of quiet joy that held memories waiting to be made. Throughout the day, Claire taught Evie to bake cookies, patiently guiding her small hands as she mixed dough and rolled it out. Evie's laughter filled the room, and Nathaniel found himself laughing too, drawn in by Claire's contagious spirit and the way she brought his daughter to life. As they walked back to their car that evening, Evie held Claire's hand tightly, looking up at her with sleepy eyes. "Will you teach me to bake again?" she asked, her voice hopeful. Claire smiled, brushing a gentle hand over Evie's hair. "Anytime, Evie. You're a natural." When Evie ran ahead, Nathaniel paused, glancing at Claire with an expression she hadn't seen before, one of gratitude and vulnerability. "Thank you," he said softly. "You've given Evie and me something I didn't think we could have again." Claire's heart beat faster, but she kept her voice steady. Sometimes, all we need is a bit of kindness and warmth to remind us that life still has light to offer. Chapter 5. Sweet Beginnings. As the weeks passed, Claire and Nathaniel's friendship deepened, blossoming into a connection that neither of them had anticipated. Nathaniel started joining Claire and Evie in the kitchen more often, savoring these moments that felt both new and achingly familiar. One quiet evening in the garden, after Evie had fallen asleep on Claire's lap, Nathaniel looked at her, his eyes filled with an unspoken question. "Claire," he began softly, "I didn't think I'd feel this way again. After losing my wife, I thought that part of me had died with her. But you've brought something back, something I thought was gone." Claire met his gaze, her heart swelling with warmth. "Nathaniel, love doesn't have to end. Sometimes it just waits for the right moment to come back." Over time, their connection became undeniable. Claire's gentle spirit and Nathaniel's quiet strength blended seamlessly, creating a life of laughter, warmth and love for Evie and themselves. Nathaniel found healing in Claire's kindness, and Evie blossomed in the light of their shared love. A year later, Claire's bakery was busier than ever, supported by the company and loved by the community. She, Nathaniel, and Evie became a family bound by love, resilience, and a belief in second chances. Together, they rebuilt what had been lost, finding hope in one another and proving that love can bloom even in the wake of grief. Through the simplest of gestures, a cookie, a shared laugh, a hand held in the quiet of the garden, they had crafted a life filled with sweetness, laughter, and the promise of a future made whole again. And that's it for today's story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. There's nothing quite like getting lost in a good tale, right? Thank you so much for joining me here on Hot Tea and Storytime. If you liked today's story, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This way, you'll be the first to know whenever there's a new story brewing, and you'll help our storytelling community grow. I'd love to see you back here for the next one, so make sure to pour yourself a cup, get comfortable, and join me for another story soon. Until next time, take care, and happy listening.